Show with a familiar face, GoLocal columnist Bob Whitcomb. Thanks for coming in today.
You can't tell the plastic surgery?
It's Bob.
Right,
He's
right,
here,
yeah,
and if he's here,
yeah.
we're talking national and
Right,
local
right,
politics.
right.
Let's start with a story that GoLocal just broke pertaining to former press secretary Sean Spicer. His
Yeah.
book tour now is supposed to be at BJ's Wholesale Club. That event's been canceled. They're very tight-lipped as to why.
What is that, threats of rioting or what?
Well, Barrington Books apparently
Yeah,
is
that's
holding one
strange.
as well, and they
Yeah.
said that they are committed to holding the event. So probably just a lot of speculation at
I
this
wonder
point.
why. I mean, he's not particularly popular, even though he's from here. In fact, he's from Barrington.
He's from Barrington.
Frightening. Does he still live here, around here? Does he have a place here? Is he going to
People-
become a
he's-
GoLocal weatherman?
He's been known to be seen in Newport, so
Yeah, with the
but-
swells. Yeah.
with
Okay.
his post-Trump era, he's on the book tour. Apparently, pre-sales of the books have been rather low.
I would think so. Yeah. Nobody remembers. I mean, that was a long time ago. You know, the Harold Wilson line. We keep repeating, a week is an eternity in politics.
Yes,
I mean,
this
it's He's
administration.
been out of office for more than a year, Spicer.
This administration,
Yeah,
a
it does
days an
surprise me.
eternity.
No one remembers. No one remembers. It's like some advice I got from my old friend Truman Taylor. We used to do TV. Said the only thing they'll remember about you is maybe the color of your tie.
Now,
So,
would you go to hear what he has
No,
to say?
no,
No?
no, no, no. I would not go because he's a liar. I don't want to go. Apparently he's a nice guy. Personally, he's perfectly pleasant, all that, but he knowingly lied. I don't like that.
Well, do you think
No.
maybe you'd want to hear his explanation? He was doing his job for the
No, that's
president?
no excuse. I heard him on the radio giving his explanation. That's no excuse.
So we will not see Bob at
No, I won't be
Barrington
there.
Books.
I'll be having dinner with him tonight, though, so ask him for a job.
Let's go
Yeah.
from, let's stay with the Trump administration. Obviously, the big news that's all around
The
this week is
tapes,
the
yeah.
tapes.
Cohen
The
and everything.
tapes.
Yeah, I mean, clearly Trump is paying off this woman, and, I don't know where we go from here. I don't think it's that important. The base that you would think would be offended by this, the evangelicals, they're his most strident supporters. So they don't seem to care about, personal immorality. I think the danger to him is more, this may be just the tip of an iceberg, a very large iceberg heading for the Titanic. Because, Cohen's got a lot of other tapes, apparently. We're told they're just hours and hours and hours
Well,
of tape.
what was
So,
Trump's reaction
who knows?
today? He said that the tapes are
It's
doctored.
too bad. Then he said, that's too bad. Yeah, he said they were
said
doctored.
they're doctored.
Right. Yeah, they were doctored, right.
So,
So I think I think this is actually relatively minor, pay off to the Playmate, right? What is a Playmate? I get them all
it
mixed
was,
up, but
I
yeah.
believe McDougal. This was not pertaining to Stormy Daniels.
No,
was
this is
from,
a Playmate.
yes,
Yeah,
this was from years ago.
Yeah.
Because when it was about Stormy Daniels, the question was the timing and was it a
Right.
campaign contribution?
That's right.
I don't want to say it's an arrangement between two consenting
Yeah.
adults, but it looks like a de facto business arrangement
Right.
was executed.
Yeah, that's right.
And now,
And the business of America is business, as my favorite president, Calvin Coolidge, noted.
but there's just the salacious quality. I think
Yeah.
that of just I'm sure news stations are just
I think,
salivating over this.
I think
playing
Trump,
over and
like
over
many
again.
Americans, has even been able to kill interest in sex. It's, I think what this suggests is, since Cohen was his fixer, Cohen was never a real lawyer. I think he was a member of the bar, but he's not a real practicing
He's a
lawyer.
fixer,
He's
yes.
a fixer. He's payoffs people. I think this is just more sort of a shot, across the bow, that other stuff may be coming along. I find this just idiotically insignificant, paying off some Playmate. I mean, it's almost comical.
As you said, it would be comical if it wasn't
Right.
real.
If he weren't the president of the United States. But no, I don't think this is titillating. But it's sort of Daily Mail stuff. But
Yeah,
it's
but-
not
but it has-
important. What is important is the other stuff that Cohen may or may not have. I expect he has a lot
That
of
is
stuff.
true. You say the Daily Mail-esque, but it certainly has saturated the more mainstream media as well. Let's talk a little bit news today. Trump said that he is pushing off having Vladimir Putin to the United States.
Yeah,
until
that
at least
kind of surprised me. Did it surprise you? You follow this stuff
2019.
yeah.
Yes and no.
I don't know. I was a little bit surprised by that. It would be pushed off that long. I actually thought he was going to go ahead and do it. Around Labor Day, they could be up there. shagging golf balls on Labor Day weekend.
Well, I'm sure the president really isn't one to listen to handlers that often, but if folks really got to him and said, this would be incredibly detrimental to the Republicans in the midterms, can you please wait till 2019?
And I see the latest poll, the polls come and go. He was up a bit because of the Republicans. Now he's down a bit in another poll that came out today. But it appears likely, far from a certainty, but likely the Democrats will take the House. If the Democrats take the House, then it's going to be
you think things are crazy
wild.
now?
Yeah.
You think things are crazy
we'll
now?
have to have our weekly chat last about 4 days. Be bringing coffee and amphetamines to keep going, to keep up with this stuff.
If that's
I think I'd say there's about 65-70% chance they'll take the House.
So you're slightly bullish on this.
Yeah,
Let's talk about who might be winning here in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
GoLocal reported today, Gina Raimondo reported her 50 days before the primary report, which had to include numbers since she began the re-election cycle, January 1st, 2015, over $7.7 million.
Unbelievable. I know, for a state that shouldn't even be a state. It's so small. It's amazing. And a lot of out-of-state money, of course.
So 6.8
of course, the state's so small, and a lot of money would have to come from out-of-state. It's like the tolls,
Yes.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of commentary with regard to that. 6.8 to date. They expect 1.8 to be reported by the end of the calendar year.
This seems an extraordinary amount of money. The population of this little jurisdiction is about 1.1 million. So it seems like it's unbelievable. So I assume she's just going to inundate the airwaves starting about probably Labor Day. Or no, before Labor Day, but she does have an opponent who I think will give her a pretty good run. I think you and I have talked about this. Matt Brown, he's a good campaigner. He's very charming, bright. I think she'll win, and I think she'll win the general election, even though she's not, a public persona is not very exciting. But Mayor Fung isn't exactly a thriller either.
So he
needs to get his opinions out there, his public policy prescriptions, so that people like me can, write about them. I don't have a clear handle other than he apparently dislikes the governor, which is about what you'd expect. But what would he do? He seems to have been a competent mayor of Cranston by, kind of trudging along. But what are the big changes?
Well, the things that he parses out are, cutting taxes,
well, they
being
all
business
say
friendly.
that. Yeah, I mean, Gina Raimondo says she can be business friendly too. She's certainly been friendly to some businesses, very friendly.
Now, they had an interesting release from the Raimondo camp. They said that both Fung and Brown's economic plans would cause Rhode Island to lose jobs. It kind of seems funny to attack them both at
right.
the same.
I know.
It's like boom, boom.
I know. I'm gonna have to run that through a Cray supercomputer. I don't get that. I noticed that too. Makes sense. You got the right wing, the left wing guy. I don't know. Yeah.
Discuss.
I don't, yeah. Discuss. Right. Yeah. Like those essay tests we had in school. Yeah. Discuss. Yeah.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, we saw at the beginning she was really going after Fung, and we've seen in recent weeks where she's had to take on Matt Brown, and this release she decided to take them both on at once.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just Matt's trying to pull her to the left, or but I don't think she's going to go that far. I mean, the governor is actually an old-fashioned Democrat. She's sort of a Truman Democrat, something like that, and Matt is a progressive, whatever that means. He's more of a state role and everything, and she's a little leery of that, partly because she's been in business, and she kind of, she's a self-made person, right? Kind of got herself into fancy colleges, made a lot of money in venture capital, and so her view of business is quite different than his.
So it is interesting, though, moving forward, we'll see what happens on the fundraising front, because one of the things that GoLocal had written about, and as you'd seen, the Sackler money from Purdue Farm.
Oh, yeah, right, Purdue Farm. Yeah, this is a fascinating thing because, there really was a scandal. The Sackler outfit, they own Purdue family, and then they put their names on everything, including in various well-known educational institutions. I think maybe even a couple in the little state of Rhode Island. I'm not sure. I'll check that out.
GoLocal did write about the die-in up at Sackler at Harvard just that weekend because, again, they were putting that OxyContin
That's right.
stigma.
Harvard, of course, Harvard is so poor. They have to get it, where they can find it. They have to take it. It's hard to kind of, tack along a $35 billion down.
Okay, we'll leave Harvard be. I mean, isn't it an issue?
They've done enough damage.
Isn't it enough?
But no, it's a great issue. I think it's a minor issue. I mean, they're handing out money to everybody. It's kind of like the issue with Sheldon Whitehouse having some drug company stock. Well, every union pension fund's got drug company stock. every 401k, IRA, they've got, in some of these companies have been peddling bad drugs, but you just can't know everything, I don't know.
Should she return the money?
Yeah, and so far as Purdue and stuff, the majority of the medical trade went along with this. They were prescribing this stuff like Hershey bars for what, 10 or 12 years. And they just go, oh yeah, opiates. Gee, I didn't know they were addictive. They're basically saying that. They said, no, if you take this according to our directions, if you follow the prescriptions with Teutonic rigor, you won't get addicted, which is ridiculous.
But should the governor return this money, Bob?
I think she should be. She doesn't need it. That's why. That's a very good reason. She certainly does not need the money. It would probably be a good PR move for her.
But we've talked about that. Do you think it sets perhaps that chilling effect if donors, see a politician having to be held to the court of public opinion?
Well, I think it depends. I think the Sacklers and Purdue Pharma have such a terrible reputation. I don't think that would hurt her. It's like taking money from IG Farben or something at this point in World War II. The horrible German conglomerate. I suspect it wouldn't hurt her. But if she refuses money from Merck or Pfizer, that would be a problem.
That would be a different issue. So we went from national to state. Let's go local.
Also,
here.
I think Purdue Pharma is quite closely held, too. It's more closely held than Merck and Pfizer and stuff, so that changes the calculus.
So let's get closer to Providence here, an issue that's happening this week, UNAP and Lifespan.
Oh, boy.
The strike.
What a mess, yeah. And I think one thing that can't be emphasized enough, the nurses hate management at Lifespan. They don't like, and it goes way back because so many of the C-suite, the senior execs at Lifespan were paying themselves so much money that produced, I think, a permanent resentment amongst the union members. I think a lot of it goes back to that, and that was that's sort of the explosion of salaries and perks of the people running Lifespan, even as they were sort of squeezing some of the workforce. And I think this is terrible resentment. Still, I think some members, senior management, are trying to bridge that, but it's very, very difficult. We should also talk about Memorial Hospital, which I don't think the state anticipated enough the effect of closing Memorial Hospital on the ERs, because unfortunately in America, the ER is the primary care physician for too many people without regular insurance. And I think they should have anticipated that more, maybe even come in and found some way of keeping the Memorial Hospital ER open. And most people still don't know that you can go to minute clinics and CVS's. There are a lot of urgent care places around. Of course, you have to pay some money. A lot of people show up at the ER. They're charged a $2,000 bill. They don't have the money, and the hospitals just write it off.
So something that could be potentially overshadowing the hospital, the Fane Tower. Now, GoLocal's questioning of the council president's role with a lobbyist for the Rhode Island
I don't know why he
Association
won't take a stand on that.
of Realtors.
I don't get it. Has he changed his mind?
He has not taken a position on it, and the questions that we've asked about seeking an advisory opinion from the Ethics Commission as to whether or not his role as city council president is in concert with his lobbyist.
That's ridiculous. It's silly. He should give his opinion about this. Eisenhower had a great line, I think it was Eisenhower, when in command, command. And he should have an informed opinion. There's been a tremendous amount of information about this tower, and he said he's for or against it. And of course, the full city council is going to vote on this thing in September, I think.
We shall see.
We shall see. So I wish he would give his opinion. And it doesn't seem to be a lot to ask at this point. He's a very nice man. I've met him, in fact, in these very studios. And, we sat and had a couple of drinks in the back and had a great time. But,
he seems a little more focused on his opinion of GoLocal than his opinion of the Fane Tower.
I think that's it's an unfortunate side road through the jungle.
Speaking of jungle, you've got notes here as to what we're going to go through the weeds through this weekend.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the beetle, the American burying beetle, which is going to stay on the endangered species list. I'm glad, because it removes corpses from the woods. It eats corpses. It was the Trump administration, which, as far as I can tell, has no interest in the environment, except the environment of various golf clubs. They were going to take it off the list. It's endangered.
So God save the beetle.
Keep the woods cleaned up. And I also talk about, I have a sort of opinion, there should be actually fewer parking spaces in cities. Fill up parking lots like the one right across the street with buildings. more housing, which brings down the cost of housing, and more public transportation. I think this obsession with parking spaces is catastrophic.
We have a bit of a surface lot industrial complex
We
here.
do, yeah, we do. And not just in Providence. I can't, in Providence, actually, for a mid-sized city like they're probably fewer than most places, the bulk of downtown Providence is still intact. Compared to Worcester, and a lot of it looks like the steppes of Kazakhstan or something.
Well, there is that surface lot down in Thames that just this week the Commerce Corporation gave the approval for a hotel there.
Yeah.
Saw a lot of pushback. I saw a lot of pushback down
Yeah.
in Newport that they don't want it. It didn't seem to get that sort of reaction here, but it was a surface lot.
Yeah, no, it's a good. Do I have time for another?
One more.
A couple. Okay, let me see. What did I say? Monetize.
Monetized lobster?
No, not that actually. Yeah, well, it's kind of a silly thing, but as you know, a pair of guys, cousins from Maine, have this lobster company called Cousins Lobster, and they're going around the country. They're setting up restaurants. We've got these food trucks. Why not do it with quahogs? That'd be great.
Do the model, the quahog
You
state.
got a model, right?
Okay.
That's economic development.
Monetize the quahogs.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I appreciate your coming in,
Okay.
as you always do, Bob. I'll let you around the corner.
See you soon.
Speaking of quahogs, we're going to have a little more of an ocean-focused segment next. Don't go anywhere.